Hello, everybody. Before we start this episode, I want to apologize for something I said on last week's episode. Um, Unforeseen circumstances have led to this being the happenstance of this current episode that we're recording right now. But I feel like Max and we need to address what I said last week. Um, I At the end of last week's episode, I said that Ben would be back this week, and he's still missing. So Ben, we're looking for you. We love you. We miss you. Come on back to us. And to our loyal viewers and listeners, I apologize for leading you to believe Ben would be back this week. I was given improper information. So now that that's out of the way, let's get into it. George and Max coming at you, unqualified film bros. We are starting tonight's episode and probably finishing tonight's episode because that's what we have on the agenda for tonight with another biopic. It's our second one in a month. It's like our eighth of the year, it feels like.
Yeah, we've done a
Um,
lot
we've done a lot
this
of
year.
biopics.
Yeah, we've done a lot.
Um, but as I said to Max before we started recording this, we're getting springy with it. We are talking about Springsteen, Deliver Me from Nowhere, which, if you ask me, should have just been called Deliver Me from Nowhere because it's based on the book Deliver Me from Nowhere. And we all knew it was about Bruce Springsteen. It's
True.
like you didn't have Queen Bohemian Rhapsody. You didn't have Bob Dylan, A Complete Unknown. You didn't have Elton John, Rocket Man. Still, the boss is iconic. His music's iconic.
Yeah.
Max, for the second week in a row. What'd you think?
Um, yeah, I'm running through, okay, so I'm running through all of the biopics that we've done this year. I think the last one we did, would you say Roof Man? Or
Would
am
you
I
call that a
forgetting one?
biopic or just
I,
based on real events?
I don't know because
Ben
I
would
don't
know.
I don't know. I probably just the
I
set, probably just based on a true story,
I
probably just
think
that one.
the last biopic we did was Smashing Machine.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's right.
I'm pulling up the list. Keep talking.
No, but I think you're right. But I think this one is probably one of the more interesting biopics that we've done this year, I would say. And I think it does a lot more with I guess the genre of biopics than some of the other ones that we've done this year. Like Smashing Machine was a little underwhelming and not too terribly creative. You know,
Okay, this is only the third biopic we've done this year.
okay, what are they?
Complete Unknown, Smashing Machine, and
Yeah.
Springsteen.
Oh, okay. It feels like a lot more,
It
not gonna
feels like a
lie.
lot more.
Have we done a lot of based on a true story ones about like an
Yeah.
individual then? Okay. And not, yeah, okay. Well, that makes sense. Anyways,
Unless you count Medea Goes to Jail as a biopic.
I do count that one, so that's four. That was
Shout
probably
out
the
Medea
best
Gang.
one. That was probably the best biopic that we've done then, this year, I'd say.
Anyway, continue.
Oh, no response to that?
I'm gonna let it slide.
Okay,
It is
cool.
probably I will agree. It is probably the best biopic we've done this year.
Yeah, I mean, these are just kind of hit or miss, right? I think they do like this one was great because I love Bruce Springsteen's music and I thought Jeremy Allen White was pretty damn good. And obviously Jeremy Strong was also quite good. And it's kind of a different kind of a story in a biopic. You know, you usually get the um, tracking of an album, and um, you don't quite get as much of the backstory necessarily interlaced the way that it was in this one. And I liked it. You know, I thought Stephen Graham was wonderful as his father. But yeah, I think it's just a hit or miss genre for me. It it um it just doesn't really move me all that much, you know?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that and also push back on it. Um, in the spirit of good discussion, of course.
Sure.
Yeah, biopics very hit or miss, as you said. I brought up Rocket Man, Bohemian Rhapsody, Complete Unknown. Like I feel like what this film does that it does really well, that A Complete Unknown did really well, was sort of hone in on one particular era in the career of the central musician.
Yeah.
I think A Complete Unknown does it better, just because we're following Bob for 4 years during his rise, when he actually is a complete unknown at the beginning of the movie. Um, and what A Complete Unknown does that Bohemian Rhapsody also really does well is it builds towards an event, a concert, a performance, something iconic in the history, in the lore of this artist. And this film doesn't do that. This film, it's kind of we're laying the groundwork for Nebraska pretty much the entire time, but the album release isn't really part of the movie. It's more just talked about how they're going to handle it, the rollout with no press, no tour, X, Y, and Z. And then there's a little bit of a postscript about it in Born in the USA. But this movie, for a 2 hour film, hour 59, whatever it is, not a lot happens. We get
Yeah.
tastes of his relationship with his father. Again, Stephen Graham, great performance. Really
Hmm.
enjoy what we get from him. Um, Especially the chemistry he has with, I mean, it's abusive chemistry, but on-screen talent chemistry with the child actor playing a young Bruce. Um, they share the screen really, really well. Um, we get the sense of the relationship with the father. We get the sense of his relationship with one of his many lifetime flames. We get a taste of recording sessions in studio and in private. We get the dynamic with Jeremy Strong with his manager. For a movie that takes place over roughly, I mean, not counting the open and the flashbacks to his childhood, for a movie that takes place roughly a year in the life of Bruce Springsteen in the 80s, it plays kind of like a greatest hits of his life when we're not getting greatest hits of his music. And yeah, they do,
Yeah.
they play his songs as soundtrack and in the movie. Again, my favorite scene in A Complete Unknown was in the studio recording Like a Rolling Stone. My favorite scene here, again, Bruce and his whole team there recording in the studio together, playing off each other, feeling that energy, feeling that vibe. I needed more of that.
Hmm.
And I think bringing it back to the idea of building towards something, having a concert or an album release or a performance or some kind of full circle reckoning with his personal life or professional life, having some kind of cemented thing we know the movie is working towards gives us more of a through line for all of these different areas of his life. And I think the movie loses something by not having that. And this one, it took me a while, probably a solid 24 hours after watching it, to give it a score on Letterboxd. I went with a 4 out of 5. Um, Low 4 out of 5. I think I was leaning 3.5, and then the performances kind of bumped it up for me. Um, yeah, I think I also love the music of Bruce Springsteen, like you said. I just think I wanted to enjoy this more.
Yeah, yeah, I don't disagree. I will, I think, push back on the idea that it had to build towards something. I think this biopic, this film in particular, maybe didn't need that. And I think the reason why is that we're what we're kind of building towards isn't some moment where we get Bruce Springsteen, emerging from his depressive state and everything being fine. What we have is he along the way is finding himself and figuring out things about himself and the ways that he wants to deliver his music and deliver his message. I think that is actually done really well. That was one of my favorite parts of this, is that I think that those little pieces that we get along the way of sort of wisdom and knowledge that he picks up to become who he is really it's evocative of the title of the film, Deliver Me from Nowhere. Like he was lost. And you even get this from the trailer, I would say, with Jeremy Strong's voiceover and talking about the hole in his bedroom floor and how he was trying to fill the hole, and that once he fills that hole and figures out who he's supposed to be, he's going to change the world. And so what we see is kind of like the arc is that he is finding himself along the way as we're also trying to find him and figure out what he's building toward and what he's looking to do. And yeah, we don't get the album release, but I think again that was part of the marketing for it. So, it wasn't supposed to have lots of fanfare and a big rollout, no singles like you mentioned and like the epilogue mentioned. So I think that actually in this case I think works. I think in Bohemian Rhapsody or even A Complete Unknown, if we don't get the Live Aid concert, if we don't get um the album the his album, then I think that is a missed opportunity. But here I think it ends up working at least a little bit in my eyes.
Yeah, I think as we're going through this conversation, and that's the purpose of dialogue and the purpose of the pod is to open up each other to new opinions and new thought. I'm kind of appreciating the sort of backwards approach that you're sort of touching on with not building to something. I don't agree with it as a choice. I think there are plenty of moments from Bruce's life. If you were to do a more traditional biopic of
Sure.
the man, the myth, the legend, the artist, the boss, I think if you were to go that route, you could absolutely touch on so many great performances that he's had, so many great albums that he's
Yeah.
had, um, and follow his life. This movie, again, it hones in on like a year,
Hmm.
and so it's. I hesitate to use the word biopic for or the portmanteau biopic because for a biographical picture, which is biopic, I kind of expect biographical, which in the name implies that we're going to get a lot of the life story. This movie, I'll say it for a third time, only covers about a year. So we're not getting so much the life of Bruce Springsteen, but more so a window into what makes Bruce Springsteen who he is.
Hmm.
And I think
But
where
it's
this film,
formative. It's not like it's just a random year. It is a formative year of
yeah,
kind of right before he's launched, as we see at the end.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, this movie does have some of what I'm talking about with the flashbacks, with the cold open. We get windows into his childhood and why he is who he is at the start of the film and what his relationship, because the relationship he shares with his father is the most important relationship he has in the film. And I think that's really clinched by having the scene at the end with an ailing Stephen Graham telling a now adult Jeremy Allen White, Bruce Springsteen, to come sit on his lap. And they share that moment, I don't think I've ever sat on your lap before, something along those lines. And it's a touching moment for a really tragic relationship between the two of them, as we've seen it play out over the previous 2 hours. That what we get there is sort of the linchpin of everything about their whole dynamic and how they're able to sort of find peace with each other at that point in their lives. And so this is a personal story. It's about his personal life, balancing that with the professional, especially as you said, as he's about to sort of shoot off and become this global superstar that he would become with Born in the USA.
Mhm.
I think, yeah, leaning into the personal life, again, we see his relationships outside of music and they're juxtaposed with his professional relationships within music. And I think that's to be expected in a biographical film about a recording artist. We see it a lot, or even not about a recording artist, even about Mark Kerr. In Smashing Machine, the second most important character in the film is played by Emily Blunt. It's Dawn. It's his girlfriend.
Hmm.
So the the balance of personal and professional, especially playing on romantic relationships and father-son relationships, and that's not to discount the role in the film played by or yeah, the role in the film that Bruce's mother holds. I think she's less a factor than his father, just in how they chose to present his upbringing and his life as it turned out. Um, but but I think showing the two sides of the coin, as we see in a lot of biopics, is done well here. I think they find that balance really well of how much of the personal versus how much of the professional do we show. I just think, and Max, you might be more of a fan than I am. I do love his music. I just don't listen to a lot of it. Um, I think speaking as a fan of the artist, I might have gone in expecting, and I did go in expecting more of the music, more of the recording, more of the attention on the professional side compared with what we got.
Sure, I think that's fair. I did too. Yep.
So let's talk about the Jeremys, Alan White and Strong, because they are our two leads here. They give two of the stronger performances in the film, two of the best performances in the film. Might even get some award season buzz. Talk to me about what you see in. I want to start with Jeremy Allen White because I have not seen him in a biographical film. Really, all I've ever seen him in is The Bear. Great show if you haven't watched it. Um, but how do you think his approach to the boss elevates the character? Because you're playing a real
I
person
mean,
here.
yeah, I mean, I think um, it's impressive work, and he does a really good job. There's a whole host of footage. There's so much footage, in film of Springsteen and how he performs, his physicality and mannerisms and stuff like that, sort of the things that he does. And I think, I don't know, from what I can remember, he does a pretty good job, pulling some of those things out. I don't know necessarily if um this is a standout performance for me. I think he's very, very good, but I don't know if it's a standout. Um and again, I think the an award season, biopics get a lot of love, especially the lead actors. So I think you're right. You probably shouldn't be surprised if he gets a couple of nods. Not saying that those wouldn't be deserved, but I just don't know if it was necessary. It was a standout performance. Yeah,
Yeah, because next couple months we're going to start talking about the Globes and the SAG Awards and the
yeah,
Oscars. And
yeah. And there's a
is
lot of
there,
time.
are there
There's a
five
lot of
better are there five better male lead performances this year than what Jeremy Allen White does here? And off the top of my head, I can't think of five. I can only think of a couple,
Yeah, I
but
mean, we'll have to see. We're still only, I mean, it's basically November,
it's
but
early in the season. You're right.
we've got 2 more months of the year left, and
Yeah.
then January, so there's time. And there's big holiday films. You got, I think Chloe Zhao has a film, Hamnet. I think that's
Hamnet,
Chloe
yep,
Zhao.
that's Paul Mescal, I think.
Yep, and Jesse Buckley, I think.
Yeah, that's I'm excited
Um,
about that one. But
yeah,
anyway,
and so like there's t just tons of movement, and it could change, but wouldn't be surprised at all.
and November, December is when the heavy hitters tend to come out. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um, but yeah, I'll agree on that. One of my favorite quotes from Bruce during the junket, and I love that he was involved in the production of this because he could be so hands-on with Jeremy Allen White and
Hmm.
really like give him full access to what he thought in these moments and what he did in these moments and how he
Yeah.
approached each situation personally and professionally. And I think that that's great.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily love the idea of making biopics about people who are still alive, but when you do, you get this kind of access, you get this kind of personal touch.
Hmm.
And that shows here. And one of my favorite quotes from Bruce about Jeremy Allen White, and you talked about the impressive performance that he gives embodying Bruce, especially on stage and in the recording studio. There were times in the post production process that Bruce didn't know if it was him singing or Jeremy Allen White singing, which is insane. The fact that Jeremy Allen White, an actor who, to my knowledge, is not a trained singer, being able to capture the the vocal tenor of Bruce Springsteen, it blows the mind. Um, the fact that he sang for himself, like Timothy Chalamet in A Complete Unknown, singing for himself and not dubbing in. No disrespect to Rami Malek and the two sound Oscars that Bohemian Rhapsody won for dubbing in Freddie Mercury's voice. That's Freddie Mercury's voice.
I
That's
mean,
understandable.
yeah, it's also okay even if they did it for artists that aren't like Freddie
Yeah.
Mercury who are so unique, right? It's not necessarily a knock.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
But yeah, the singing is what really impressed me. Now, the Brown context being what they are, when Jeremy Allen White's got those sweet baby blues like yours truly, it's a little disappointing, but got to be true to character, I guess.
true.
Um, but let's talk about Jeremy Strong because his most recent performance before this film, I believe, was The Apprentice, where he was also in a
Yeah.
biopic playing Roy Cohn,
Yep.
real life figure.
Yep.
Here, he's not quite in the Roy Cohn role, but he's sort of on top of being a professional business manager for a recording artist, he's kind of a mentor and a friend, filling that sort of advisory role for Bruce. Um, Sort of the shoulder to lean on and person to bounce ideas off of, back and forth, confidant, consigliere, whatever you want to call it. Jeremy Strong is one of the best actors we have going right now. And this is another A plus performance from him as far as I'm concerned.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Nothing. Yeah.
No, I mean I don't have there's nothing to add to
Nothing to add
that.
to that.
He's excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I will object because I have seen the footage of Bruce Springsteen ranting about not liking mustard. The fact that he tells a sweet little girl that mustard's his favorite. That's not true to life, and I will not, as a fan of the boss, I will not stand for it. Now, be that as it may, he may have just been saying that to be nice. Oh, you like mustard? Yeah, me too. Like an adult would say to a child.
Sure. Reasonable.
But why include it if you're gonna have him fucking lie? And
I don't have an answer for you on that one.
I knew going in because I was reading some of the chatter about it online before I saw the film that there was one moment that fans would catch of, and that clip of him, I don't know if you've seen it, Max, the clip of him ranting about mustard and hot dog toppings and whatever. It's very, you know, it went viral, or it didn't go viral, whenever, but it is that level of popularity in his sort of presence on social media. Um, but there was, in the chatter online before I saw the film, they said there's one moment that will stand out to fans that is just egregiously not true to life. And I was like, shit, what is this going to be? And then I watched it, and immediately, as soon as that happened, I was like, God fucking damn it. Like, of course, that would be the one. And, it's so trivial and it's so like, I don't know, it doesn't matter in the scheme of the film, but
No.
I don't know. I thought
But
that
it
was
is
funny.
funny. That is funny.
Ah, I want to hear Ben's thoughts about this. I feel like this is a film that he would have a lot to say about.
Yeah,
Well,
probably.
Ben, wherever you are out there in the ether,
Definitely out in the
I'm
ether.
not gonna I'm not gonna promise that you're back next week, even though you said you would be. Because I don't want to wish that on the pod for another half-hearted apology from me at the beginning of the episode. But we will hope to have Ben back next week when we, for the second time, and what probably should be the third time, we should have done Poor Things and we didn't.
Mm,
But for the second time, we are diving into the insane, absurdist partnership between Yorgos Lanthimos and Emma Stone.
hmm.
Jesse Plemons co-stars in Begonia. We're gonna watch an absurdist Yorgos sci-fi comedy next week, and we're gonna have some fun with it. But in
Yeah,
the
should be fun.
meantime, Max and I can each toss a recommendation to Springsteen, Deliver Me from Nowhere. Go see it on the big screen, check it out, listen to some great Bruce music. Listen to Bruce on the way there to the theater and on the way home
Sure.
from the theater.
Yeah,
Make a day
sure.
of it. Listen to a couple of good records.
Yeah.
So, check out Springsteen, Deliver Me from Nowhere in theaters. Check out Begonia this weekend. We will be sure to bring you our thoughts on that next week. Fingers crossed, Ben is back next week. Again, no promises. But yeah, all the usual stuff. Support local movie theaters, ban AI in filmmaking, watch some good movies, and we will see you next week. Have a good night.
Good night.